Your great-grandfathers were both from St. Elizabeth. They were coming back from Panama, where they were Scottish people who went to colonize Panama. And then they met the native people, and the British people were there, and they fought them off, drove them out, and they were on their way back to Scotland when they were shipwrecked at Treasure Beach in St. Elizabeth. I heard that on our dad's side there were 5 brothers, 4 Reynolds, 5 Reynolds brothers who were on that ship. Some stayed in St. Elizabeth and spread all over the island to Hanover, to St. Catherine, and to Westmoreland. So most Reynolds in Jamaica are all related. And it's the same thing with our grandpa Shaw. He was also on that ship, and he came to Westmoreland from St. Elizabeth. On Mama's side, it's the Donalds and the Jackson. And I think the Jacksons, I don't know much about them as I do about the Reynolds, but I think the Jacksons were English and the Donalds were Irish. Because when I went up to Red Ground when I was a child, and Mama would take them, they're almost every relative you see look almost white. So, and your grandfather, I heard, was a white man. Great-grandfather was a white man with freckles. So, and when I would go there with them, they were always playing the fife and drum, the old Scottish, Irish music, and doing the jig. So I think that's their background. And of course, our African ancestry is the biggest part of us. And they came from Nigeria. I did my ancestry DNA and found out that they were mainly from Nigeria, some from Sierra Leone, from Kenya, Ethiopia, and Somalia. Then there is also a part of us that is Jewish, Ashkenazi Jew that were in Europe, and most of the ancestry, the white part of them were Scandinavian, and I think they were the ones who went to Scotland and Ireland. There are also some from Eastern Europe and the Baltic, even from Mongolia and Afghanistan. So it's quite the mixture. As they say in Jamaica, out of many one people, we are quite the Heinz 57 variety. My parents, your grandparents were wonderful people, kind, loving. When we were growing up, Mama would take all the people, kids, the ones couldn't afford to send their kids to school or look after them and feed them. We grow up with them. And Mama or Papa never treated us differently from they treated us. Mama could sew, and if she bought a bale of cloth, she would make the same dress and shirt and whatever for all of us as she would make for the kids that she was raising. So we grew up to love and to care for and to help one another. That's the kind of parents we had, loving and kind parents. I have never had a spanking When other people are giving their kids spanking, I have never had a spanking from either mama or papa. One day I was very quiet, and but I had a bad temper if I was provoked. And this girl around the school in Negril, she was a policeman's daughter and the greatest bully. Her father's name was Policeman Creef, and her name was Joan. And she hit me, and I took off my shoes and really give her some big hits with it. And Papa got the complaint from Mr. Moncrief. They were friends. And I thought I was in for a spanking this time. He never spanked me before, but he took his hand and rubbed on my forehead like this. You have to behave yourself. You promised Papa that you're going to do it. I said, yes, Papa. You promised, Papa? I said, yes, Papa. And that was it. Never had a spanking from any of them, and they always tell us that we are their blessing. Always. I mean, they didn't have us until way down when they were in their 40s. My oldest sister is 20 years older than me. So we came to them late after several stillbirths and miscarriages. We came to them late, and then I came, puny, wasn't expected to live because I wasn't quite 7 months. And everybody came and looked at me and told me, Mama hated one man, I think his name was something Mackenzie, I forget what his name was, but he dared to say to her, Miss Florrie, I don't say you mustn't try, but this one cannot live. Mama hated him and never speak to him from that, and he came and called me a little mus-mus. That's how little I was. And I was asthmatic until I was 8 because I was premature. And usually premature kids have brain damage or something when they're so premature. And here I am, not a thing is wrong with me and still going well. So I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be alive and blessed to have such parents, and you're blessed to have such grandparents. And another thing I'm proud of, a book just came out a while ago, and I have all the notes to write my book, so I'm going to do that. But the book came out, and people in Negril acknowledge that your grandparents, especially my mother, Florence Reynolds, your grandmother, was the very first to take tourists in our home in Jamaica.
Negril had just one road, and you could only come from downtown Negril to where we are now living. The road did not go any further, so you couldn't drive, but you could walk all the way up to my grandfather and up to where Uncle Azzy and the Azzy Shack, which is Donaldson's Inn. You could walk as far as there, but there was no road for any car to drive. Then there was just that little bridge where if you couldn't afford a pair of shoes, say 2 pairs of shoes is only one. So you would walk barefoot down to the bridge, and you would put on your shoes to go to church. And coming back from church, you have to take care of my mother used to call it, take care of their Sunday good best, because that was the best thing they had. So the other shoes, there was nothing for them to really walk about in. And then there was Ivan MacLeod, who lives right up where they have hedonism. That was the only other house beyond there. And he had to use a canoe which is a paddle boat from where we are living from at 1 mile all the way up to where he lives in Rutland Point, right? Then David and Florence were as known as Mama Flo and Papa Cock. That's what everybody knew them as. They are the original and a man named Ferdinand authors who lived below them. That is where they have like Coral Caesar way down in there. But otherwise than that, that's the best I can remember. Because my dad left Jamaica in the 50s. And my mom stayed there and carry on and build up the little guest houses them that we have. And whatever she had there, she built from there. So that is why that place is so precious to us. Because we can say we see where Negril is coming from to where it is now. Okay, babes? I think they started about 1952, 53. They took in, his name was Bill Davenport and his wife. Then they took in A.B. Chance and his wife. And I don't remember much more than that. Yeah, I know the Chance, the Davenports, the Chance, the Hansons, and that was it. And they built their empire from there, honey. Right?
And when she did, it was A.B. Chance, the first tourist who came to Jamaica, and he stayed with your grandparents. Eventually, they bought land down the bottom and there, a little bit down from us, and built their own place. And then afterwards, as you know, Mama and Papa operated a restaurant and their bar here, and they built cottages. One was torn down when the land separated, but the cottage over there that belongs to your mom, there were two over there that they were renting out to tourists and renting the place there. Over this side, that bathroom there is still the bathroom that we fixed up from them leaving it here. So they did a lot of wonderful things, were very enterprising. So proud of the parents and grandparents that they are. Loving, kind, business-minded, and sent me away to study business and come back and continued their business. But I met your uncle, and the rest is history. The rest is history. And you know what your grandfather did the first time I brought your uncle home? He looked at me and he said, "Is that the man you love?" I said, "Yes, Papa." And he said, "Well, I love him too." And that was it. Everybody was kind of nervous and really upset that I married your dad, because I was engaged to Massa Mackenzie, a guy from Sheffield his parents were friends with my parents. So they expected a marriage there, but your uncle was kind and is kind. Alex Haley sat on that same veranda. The writer of Roots, was I wrote part of his book on that veranda, sitting out there with them. And when they were the great anthropologist William Davenport was searching for relics from the Spaniards and the native Indian in Booby Key and Bloody Bay, that was where he and his wife said, Mama used to cook for them. And when 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was filmed, it was filmed right here in Negril. My dad, Uncle Ferdy, Uncle Alec, Uncle Eddie, and all our relatives were part of the cannibals running out. Running out, and your grandmother cooked for them. Cooked for Kirk Douglas and all of them. Even before she built cottages, buses used to bring tourists to Negril Beach. And the tourists would give Joy and I their sandwiches, and Mama would cook for them.
As a matter of fact, he was one who went with my mother to the Savannah Mar Hospital where they took my son. That is Thornie, everybody know him as Thornie. And that's where he wrote that song, From a Little Cottage in Negril. I wrote these lines to you, or this song to you. So that's what I know of him. Okay, honey? Somebody I sit and I talk with, but that's so long ago I can't remember. But he had loved music. He always said he loved music and that he had family.
Tyrone was a very, very good friend of mine, a very good friend of your mother. They met in I think it was in 72, maybe 74, when he came down and started singing at the Negril Sands Club, I think. And my mom used to work there as a manager. Yeah, it's Tyrone, man. Yeah, and I think that Little Cottage in Negril song, I think he's made that song for his girlfriend that he used to live with on the West End, Sadie Jackson, I think so, back in the days. From a little cottage in Negril. Yeah, that one there. Yep, so that's it. When we meet in the accident, it was Tyrone Taylor who was sitting in the back of the car. I laid in his lap and then bring me to the hospital. Him and one lady when me know. Yeah, man. Old time brethren used to hang out at hedonism and him sing every night on the band.
So your grandmother is a pioneer
Negril Beach.
of Negril tourism right here on Negril Beach. And I was glad to see someone truly wrote about it in that recent book. So that's my mandate now, to write about them and the great contribution that they have made to Negril.
Thank you again, Auntie.